والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدي وحبيبي ونور قلبي وثمرة فؤادي أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين المهديين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back again after a short break or long break. It's good to see you again and start our session again. And tonight, inshallah, we will be talking about a question that was posted about our religion and Furooh-e-Deen in general. That there are certain things in Islam, as we as followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, there are certain responsibility that we have to do, but we don't know where to draw the line. That Islam say, do this, but when is the line that I have to stop? And where can I move forward? Those things, number one, we all know that in Islam, we are encouraged to be tolerant with everybody. That's the teaching of Islam. That is number one. Now, this tolerance, how far does it go? To a point where the tolerance turns to become a tabarra. That the person is supposed to be tolerating, now I have to do bara'a from that person. When is that bara'a comes in? That is number two. Number three, being tolerant a person as a Muslim, where is the jihad falls in? The person that I'm supposed to be tolerant with, nice and kind with them, where does it tend to become we have to take sword on each other? So where is the line that I can draw between being tolerant and then being a person who have to do jihad and then also a tabarra at the same time? Really, these three things, it needs topic by each other. But I'm going to try and squeeze everything together and then come to the bottom line where to answer all these things that we just mentioned about. Number one, the ayah that I just mentioned, La ikraha fi din, is in Surah Al-Baqarah. And this ayah was revealed upon the Prophet in Medina. And the reason why it was revealed, a man called Abul Haswin, with the Sad, not Hussein with the Sin. No, Abul Haswin. He came to the Prophet in Medina. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I have two sons that we used to be idol worshippers before Islam. Then I became Muslim. But these two sons of mine, they were some Christians, missionaries, who came from Sham, and they convinced my two sons, to become Christians instead of being Muslims. Ya Rasulullah, not only that, the children, they even they left with those missionaries to Syria. So Ya Rasulullah, do I have a right in Islam to go there to Sham and get them and bring them back and force them to accept Islam? That was the question he posted to the Prophet. Do I have the right of forcing them to become Muslim or I don't. At that moment, Allah sent Jibreel. Ya Jibreel, tell the Prophet, La ikraha fi din. That Ya Rasulullah, tell Abu Hassan, who is asking this question, that in Islam there is no compulsory upon one or another to become a Muslim. Meaning, I don't have right to force someone to become a Muslim. Islam says, no, you don't have that. You know why, brothers and sisters? Why is it that Islam is saying no compulsion in Islam, that no right to force somebody? Because Islam is a religion of aql and wisdom. And wisdom doesn't stand with the force. If something is logic, people will accept it. That's reason number one. Number two, Islam is something that has to do with the heart. So if you force someone to do something, if it doesn't come from the heart, it's useless. There are two reasons why Islam said, don't force anybody to become a Muslim, because they have to believe in it from the heart and then practice it willingly. If you force them, it's not going to get anywhere. That is the reason why this ayah was revealed. So then Allah SWT said, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدِ. Ar-rushd means guidance. Light has came. Because you look at the time of the Prophet, and then before the Islam, how was the people used to live? Now look at that lifetime, and then look at after the Prophet came, and you can tell the difference between the life of the people of that time. So there's no reason for the Prophet to bring a sword and start attacking people to make them Muslim. That is the reason why this ayah was revealed. For that matter, in Islam, we are not allowed to force someone to become a Muslim. But this, brothers, I want you to pay attention here careful, because there is a line here. This ayah is for somebody who is not Muslim to begin with. It's clear, brothers and sisters? If somebody is Christian or Jew or atheist, we cannot force them to accept Islam. They have right to stay wherever they want to stay. They have the right to practice any religion they want to. But if you and I were born Muslim, the choice is not there anymore. See the difference? If you were born Muslim, even if the father is the Muslim, the mother is not, then automatically it's considered what? It's considered Muslim. For that matter, you cannot go back to another religion other than Islam. Now, I'll mention the reason why. Because here Islam says the difference between the two is here. Islam says for you to become Muslim, when you were not born a Muslim, Islam said, I can't force you because it has to come from the heart. Now, if you decide to become a Muslim, right, after thinking, and that is why in Islam, we have Furooh-e-Deen, no taqleed, because Islam wants you to free your mind. Think about it. You have to think about everything. If you come to the conclusion of acceptance, Islam said, then now you can see the Shahadatain. But Islam said, be careful. When you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, you are signing a contract with Allah. It's a contract with Allah that after you sign the contract, you have to be careful. You can't go back after that. And two, not only that, even your children and grandchildren, they all sign in contract with Allah indirectly because of you as a father. That is where the line is. That is why in our aqa'id, our Muslims in general, we say if a person is born Muslim, they cannot go back to another religion. And if they choose to, the rule in Islam is what? Death penalty. That's what it is. Islam said, no, you can't. Why? Here, there is a reason. And this, it has to go through a process, brothers and sisters. Number one, it's not like if somebody, my neighbor, was born Muslim, and he said, I don't want to become a Muslim, tomorrow I have to take sword and say, I'm going to go jihad. He has to die. No. This is the Islamic State responsibility. It's not individual. It has to come either from Imam, Ma'soom, or it has to come from Naib of Ma'soom, which is Marja. He has to give that order. And still, it has to be in the Islamic State. That is the rule. So for that matter, Islam said, you have the right to practice any religion you want to before you accept Islam. And if people happen to be different religion, Islam said we are tolerant with them. They have the right to practice their religion, and we have the right to practice our religion. And not only that, even Islam goes to even further than that, to allow them to come in your masjids and our masajids to practice their religion. That's fine. And that's what you see in the Mubahala. When they came and they have the time of prayer came, they tell the Prophet, we want to go and do our prayers. The Prophet said, who are you praying for? They say, Allah, God. I said, this place is meant for God. Pray here. In the masjid. Even though they were not Muslims, but the Prophet gave them the chance to pray inside the masjid. That is how tolerant Islam is. Islam allows everybody to choose their will and whatever religion they want to. The only thing, there is one religion, which I don't call it religion, but just to make it easier, one practice Islam does not allow. It doesn't matter. And that is idol worshipping. You know why Islam doesn't allow that? Because idol worshipping is considered disrespect to human being akal to begin with. Because human being, as one of the best creatures of Allah, to go and start worshipping an idol that you made, Islam said this is playing with the mind. So Islam doesn't allow that. But other than this, any religion one wants to practice, Islam says you're welcome to do that. And as a matter of fact, Islam said we have no right to bother you as long as you don't bother us. And that is why in Surah Al-Kafirun, lakum dinukum waliya deen. Practice your religion. And we have to practice our religion. No interference whatsoever. That is the tolerance in Islam. Number two, another tolerance in Islam, that you see some Christians, they come to the Prophet. They say, Ya Rasulullah, we want to ask you, between the two of us, you are a practicing person in a religion of Islam. We practice different religion. We want to know which one of us is on the right path. وَإِنَّا أَوْ إِيَّاكُمْ لَعَلَى هُدًى أَوْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Allah told the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, tell them, one of us, either me, the Prophet is saying, either me, I am on the wrong path and you are on the right path, or you are on the wrong and I'm the right path. Allahu Akbar. Look how far the Prophet can go. In Surah Yasin, Allah told him, and the Prophet is quoting, he said, Yasin wal Quran al Hakim, innaka lamin al mursaleen ala siratin mustaqim. You are on the right path. But here the same Prophet, when they ask him, he said, no, one of us is on the right and one of us is not on the right path. That is how tolerant the Prophet goes with the other religions. Not only that, the Prophet, with his tolerance with the other religions, they came and they asked him, Ya Muhammad, we want you to come and worship our Lord for 1 year, and then we go and worship your Lord for 1 year. But look, they think they're smart. They say, but first you have to start worshiping us first. Our Lord first, and then the next year we go and worship your Lord. And that is the reason why قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. That's the reason that surah was revealed. Because they were inviting the Prophet to come and worship idols. Then Allah said, Ya Rasulullah, tell them, لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. I can't worship what you're worshiping. But at the end, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينُ. That we all have the right to practice any religion that we want to practice. That is why today when you go to some Islamic countries, they allow Christians to practice their Christianities. You have Jews who practice their Judaism and so other religions, because Islam allow us to practice our religion and allow others to practice their religion. That is the importance of tolerance. And not only that, that is why even Allah in the Quran, He called Himself Al-Halim, the most tolerant one. And you know this word, brothers and sisters, is mentioned 15 times in the Quran. Halim, 15 times. 12 times all referring to Allah. 3 times was referring to prophets. The first prophet who Allah called him Halim is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Inna Ibrahima la halimun. Allah SWT said Ibrahim is one of the most tolerant one during his time. That's number one. Number two, the second prophet Allah called him Halim is his son Ismail. فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ Halim. Allah said we gave him the most tolerant son. Ismail alayhi salam. That's number two. Number three is Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam also was given this talent, this attribute as well. So in Islam, basically, we are required to be tolerant with everybody and allow them to practice their religion as well. That is the first part. Number two, what about Amr bil Ma'ruf? What does Amr bil Ma'ruf falls in? Islam said that as long as I'm on the right path and practicing my religion, whenever I see something wrong, Islam said I have to correct it. But how? Nicely. And I have to correct it also in the best manner that I can. How best I could? Islam also in the Quran, Allah said, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'idha. Call people to Islam with your wisdom. Correct people with the wisdom. So the Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahin Anilmunkar, it falls whenever I see something going wrong. Islam said you have to speak up. You have to correct it, but nicer way. But whenever I see something right, something good, Islam said you have to encourage it. And that is where the Amr bil Ma'ruf comes in. Now, when does the Tabarra comes into? And by the way, what is the Tabarra? Tabarra is also one of the important Islamic practice. That's why you see, in Quran we have one whole surah called Suratul Bara'ah or Suratul Tawbah in some narration. This surah is started with what? Bara'atun min Allah. Allah is denouncing certain people who are enemies of Allah. Because Islam is this, brothers and sisters. If I see the Shahada with the Prophet, I believe Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, I can't at the same time be friends of the enemies of Allah. I can't say I love Allah and I love Shaitan. It doesn't work that way. I have to love Allah and denounce the enemies of Allah. As the same thing, I cannot love the Prophet and love Abu Jahl at the same time. I can't love Imam Hussein and love also Yazid at the same time. You have to keep the balance. And that is why even in our ziyarah, we said, Inni silmun liman salamakum wa aduwwun liman adakum. I am at peace with whomever is at peace with you. I'm enemy of all anybody who also declare the animosity towards Ahlul Bayt and Allah and the Prophet. So that is the line. So in Islam, we are encouraged to do tabarra. We have to. And this tabarra comes in two stages. Unfortunately, most of the time we think a tabarra is one way. And that is to come out and say it. That is one way of tabarra. That when I see somebody who is an enemy of Allah, I have to come and denounce this act. That is number one. If I see somebody as enemy of the Prophet, I have to come out and denounce the person. If I see somebody enemy of Ahlul Bayt, I have to denounce them. That is one stage. But this is what? This is the theory part of tabarra. But there is practical part of tabarra, and that is even important than the first one. And that is to stay away from the practices of the enemies. Whatever they do, I try not to be like them. That is another tabarra also. I know the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. What did they do? They tortured Ahlul Bayt. They hurt Ahlul Bayt. What do I learn to do? Not to hurt them, because it's one of the reasons that they became enemies. So at tabarra, it's not just by words. I have to show it in my action too. Otherwise, I say this is bad. La'natullah alayh. I say this, but then I come in one way to hurt Ahlul Bayt. That is not tabarra, a true tabarra. A true tabarra is that I try as much as possible to stay away from any action that hurts Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Whether by sin or backbiting, any action that hurts them, I have to stay away from it. And that is another form of tabarra as well. So tabarra here, the line is that I am encouraged to be tolerant with everyone. until they cross the line to say something against Allah, or to say something against the Prophet, or to do something against Allah or the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, then I have to denounce that act at that point. So at-tabarra comes when the person becomes or shows the animosity towards Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, then I have to show I have to do at-tabarra at that point. That is number 3. Number 4, which is jihad. Jihad, brothers and sisters, is one of the words that today people have a lot of misconception about. As soon as we hear the word jihad, the first thing that comes in mind is guns and killing other people. That's what people think, jihad. But literally, when you say the word jihad in Islam, it doesn't mean that. The word jihad in Arabic, it means struggle. From the word juhud, struggle. And do you know that from that word, we call our maraja mujtahid. Mujtahid means what? Someone who struggles to read the Quran and the Sunnah to come up with the Islamic teachings. And that's what's called mujtahid. And that is why, brothers and sisters, we have to appreciate our maraja. And not only that, to make dua for them. Because coming up with one fatwa, it's not like you and I, we just sit down, drink water, and no, it takes a lot. And that's what they call mujtahid, the one who struggles in coming up with what? Coming up with the hadith or ayah or a ruling of Islam. That is to call ijtihad. Now here this word al-jihad, it means to struggle in the path of Allah. That jihad in Islam, it comes in what? In 4 different stages. Unfortunately, most of when you hear the word jihad, the first thing comes is war, killing enemies. No, the word jihad, it comes in 4 stages. Number 1, we have in Islam called jihadul mal. Struggle of money. And that is whenever Islam is in need of my money to spend, to help out with something, and giving that money in that cause is called jihad. But with jihad, jihad al-mal is called. And you see Allah in the Quran, in Surah At-Tawbah, Allah says, وَجَاهِدُوا بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ. He says, struggle with your money. Anything that Allah gives you, you spend it for the cause of Allah. It's called jihadul mal. The struggle with the money. That's number 1. Number 2, it's called jihadul nafs. Jihadul nafs, which is the highest of all. Jihad al-nafs is the struggle with your soul. And there's hadith of the Prophet, when the Prophet sent the soldiers to the battlefield, and they came back from the battlefield, the Prophet welcomed them by saying, he said, Marhaban biqawmin qadimu min al-jihad al-asghar wa baqiya alayhim jihad al-akbar. The Prophet said, welcome the armies who came from smallest jihad. And which jihad are we talking about? The jihad that people got killed. The jihad people got injured. The Prophet called that jihad al-asghar. And here, listen to the saying of the Prophet. In Arabic, we have saghir, and then we have asghar. We have kabir, and we have akbar. As-saghir means small. When we say asghar, meaning the smallest of all. Meaning when you compare everything small, that small is the smallest of all. This is called al-asghar, right? Now this asghar, the Prophet didn't say jihadun saghir. No, he said jihadul asghar. Meaning every jihad you can ever think of, fighting the enemies are the one that is considered the smallest jihad. Then he said, which one is the jihad al-akbar? He said jihad al-akbar is the battle with your nafs. That battle with the soul is the biggest jihad. Now, why would this become small and this is bigger? Because jihad al-asghar, brothers and sisters, when you fight the enemy, there is time limit for it. 1 month, 1 day, 2 months, 2 years, 3 years. Either you kill the enemy or the enemy kills you and the battle is over. But jihad al-nafs, from the day you become baligh till the day we die. That is that struggle. That struggle is very tough to the point, even when you're sleeping, the battle still continues. The battle with the shaitan, the battle with the enemy. When you're sleeping, you're not fighting anymore. When you're rested, you're not fighting. But the battle with the shaitan and nafs, it doesn't matter. Even you are in sleep, shaitan comes still struggle with your nafs and your soul. You are sleeping, you are sitting, the battle continues. No, it doesn't stop until the day we die. And that's what's called Jihadul Akbar, the biggest jihad. That is jihad number 2. Jihad number 3 is called Jihadul Mar'a, jihad of a woman. And this was revealed when the Prophet ﷺ was getting ready to go to jihad. A woman came to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, I have a question for you. He said, what is your question? She said, Ya Rasulullah, men get to go to jihad, and whenever they get killed, they die, they are considered shaheed. And shaheed means they're going to the highest level of heaven. But we don't get the chance of becoming shaheed. Because in Islam, a woman is not required to go to jihad. But if she wanted to participate willingly, Islam says, come on in. But it's not wajib. It's not mandatory upon men like it is on the woman. But if she wanted to participate, Islam says, you're welcome to it. So here the Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked, Ya Rasulullah, men get the opportunity to go, but we don't get to go. Some of us, because we have responsibility, children and others, but we can't perform this jihad. Ya Rasulullah, is there anything you can prescribe, you can tell us to do, so at least we can get the same reward in that level? Allah, brothers and sisters, do you know that Islam favors a woman a lot? Islam favors a woman more than anything else. And the Prophet said one word for that sister. He said, you know, your jihad is one thing. To be kind to your husband is the equivalent of dying in the battlefield. If you are nice to your husband, you are kind to your husband, that is it, mashallah. You are in the house, AC is blowing, you don't have to worry about it. You give him a water, it's considered jihad. You cook a nice food, it's considered jihad.
They have just started their jihad.
That is the Prophet ﷺ telling us. That is the simplest jihad you can do, and it's considered like a discount. You get jihad, but with discount, but you get the same reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is called Jihadul Mar'a, the jihad of a woman in Islam. That's the third one. The fourth one is called the other jihad, which we go and we fight the enemies of Allah. Now, these jihad, brothers and sisters, in Islam, we are not allowed to attack anybody to begin with. In Islam, when you see any war that happened during the time of the Prophet or any of Imams, the jihad was always defense jihad. And you go to the Karbala, you see Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Ashura, when the enemies were about to attack, Habib ibn Mudha wanted to start. The Imam Hussein said, no, you can't. He said, until they start, then we have the right to defend ourselves. And he said, even if they start, he said, we are not allowed to defend ourselves at that moment until one of us is killed, then we have the right to defend ourselves at that point. That is the teaching of Islam. That Islam doesn't allow a person or any one of us to go out there killing the innocent people because of the person doesn't agree with me in faith. No. What Islam is saying is, if somebody attacks, they cross the line by attacking a Muslim. Here Islam said, I give you the right not to attack, to defend yourself. And self-defense is a nature of every creation. Now you look even animals. Animals, when you look at the animal, when something wants to attack them, at least they try to do what? To defend themselves. Some of them, they don't go to attack, but if somebody attacks them, they try at least to defend themselves one way or another. And that is the same thing in Islam. Islam says we are not allowed to attack others, but when we are attacked, we have the right to defend ourselves. And that is where the jihad comes in. So jihad is what? It's a self-defense after you are attacked, not before anybody attacks you. And you can see that some example, brothers and sisters. Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala. From a long time the Prophet told him who will be killing him. Until the night of his shahada, Imam Ali alayhi salam left home, he was going to the masjid. Imam Hassan, he heard and he knew what's going on. But he was following Imam Ali alayhi salam to see where he's going. As Imam Ali was walking, he heard, he turned and saw him. He said, Ya Bunayya al-Hassan, why are you out at this time? He said, my father, I saw you left at this time, which is not usual, the time that you normally leave. Then Imam Ali alayhi salam said, I left because of the dream that I saw tonight. What did you see? Then he said, I saw the Prophet, he came and hugged me, and he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, laqad ishtaqtu ila ru'yatik. I miss you. Then he said, while we were talking, I saw Jibreel. He came with the two rocks in his hand. He has one in the right hand, one in the left hand, and then he struck them to each other, and they became like a dust, and he threw them in the sky, and nothing came down. Imam Hassan asked Imam Ali, what is the meaning of this dream? Imam Ali alayhi salam responded, the meaning of the dream that is your father will be killed tonight. Then Imam Hassan asked him, I said, my father, who is going to kill you? He says, a man called Abdurrahman ibn Muljam al-Murad. The point is this, then Imam Hassan asked him another question. He said, oh father, if you know he will kill you, why don't you kill him before he kills you? The answer of Imam Ali, he said, because I can't revenge before the crime is committed. He hasn't committed the crime. So upon what am I allowed to go and kill him? He has to commit the crime, and then I have the right to do what? To revenge. That is the bottom line in Islam. The jihad always comes when a person is threatened, then Islam says you have the right to defend yourself. That is where the jihad comes in. So for that matter, just to summarize the whole thing, when we say that tolerance, we are encouraged to be tolerant with everybody, including even plants, including even animals. That's when you go to the Risalat al-Huquq of Imam Ali, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, he mentioned the right of everything upon us. The right of Allah, it's called Haqq al-Akbar, the biggest right. Then he comes the haqq of a mother, the haqq of a father, the haqq of self. Then he comes even the right of the nature. The trees that you see, they have right on us. What is the right of them? It's not to cut them unless there is a reason for it. Destroying it. If you go to Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he was telling Malik al-Ashtar, when he was sending them, one of the things he told them, when you go to the battlefield, he said, do not cut tree that is unnecessary. Even the tree, you are not allowed to cut it. That is how much Islam is tolerant with even the nature. Animals, Islam said you are not allowed to hurt animals. How much tolerant I can be? Islam said that even a woman in Islam, she hurt a cat and Allah sent her to hellfire. She loved the cat, didn't allow the cat to go out to feed itself, and did not feed the cat either. The cat died out of hunger. When she died, the Prophet said Allah promised her hellfire because she didn't treat the cat properly. Another man, a dog, which we know is not just a person goes to heaven because of how he treated the dog. What is it? They say the dog came and was thirsty, and the man had a water. The dog was about to die. The man gave the water to the dog and saved the life of the dog, and Allah gave him heaven because of that. That is how much Islam is tolerant with the animals as well. Not only that, Islam said be tolerant with every human being, even those who are even bad with you. That's why one hadith of the Imam Zayn al-Abidin, a man came to me and said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, he said, I want to tell you that I never hurt my neighbor. Doesn't that make me a good man? Imam Zayn al-Abidin said, no. He said, what makes you a better neighbor is to be patient on the problems of your neighbor. ليس حسن الجوار كف الأذى وإنما حسن الجوار الصبر على الأذى. Then I have a neighbor, I never heard them. Everybody can do that. But how many people can tolerate the bad behavior of their neighbor? If you can't tolerate that, the Imam Zainab says, that makes you what? That makes you the patient one. So in Islam, we are encouraged to be tolerant with everything. But as we are tolerant with everything, if we see something wrong, we shouldn't be quiet. We should do the Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahin Anilmunkar nicely and kindly. That is that word. And then if the person or that being step down the line and did something that displeases Allah, then we go also to do tabarra, to let Allah knows we are not on the same page with them. That's where the tabarra comes in. But if by enemies they attack us, then we have the right to defend ourselves. And that is where the jihad comes in. So the line is, this is how you draw the line. Tolerant with everybody. And then the next thing is, Amr bil Ma'ruf. As we are tolerant with one another, if they say or do something wrong, I have to correct them. I can't be quiet just because they're not Muslim. I can't be quiet even when I see something wrong. And the reason is, if you are quiet and not doing Amr bil Ma'ruf, if the punishment of Allah is to occur, you also will be part of the crime as well. And that is why in ziyarah we says, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا أَسْرَجَتْ وَأَلْجَمَتْ. We do la'an to do people who heard it and didn't do anything. So we have to do something, and that is where the importance of Amr bil Ma'ruf come in. But if they acted something against Allah or the Prophet, then the tabarra comes in. And then if they attack us, then the jihad comes in. So this is the process of these four things that the brother asked. وصلى الله على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Now we go to the question and answers. Yes, it's not.
You said that we shouldn't be cruel to animals. So is hunting allowed in Islam? Hunting?
Yes, sisters asking in Islam, we say we shouldn't be cruel to animals. Yes. Hunting in Islam, yes. It's allowed to hunt in Islam. As a matter of fact, we have in the fiqh, a whole chapter is called Babu, a chapter of hunting. And not only that, in Islam, selling or buying dogs is not permitted. In Islam, inshallah, someday we will mention, in Islam, there are 4 different rules about trade. There are certain trade, Islam says, is halal. You can do it as much as you can. No restriction whatsoever. There are certain trade, Islam says, is haram. You can't do them. Like selling alcohol. Selling in haram. You're not allowed to do that. It's haram. Then there are certain trades, is makruh. Makruh, for example, selling kafan. Somebody takes the job of selling kafan, is makruh in Islam. Or another example of makruh job is to become a person whose job is to slaughter the animals. And Islam is makruh. And Islam tells you the reason too. So Islam doesn't say it's makruh for no reason. No. Islam tells you the reason too. One of the reasons Islam says selling kafan is makruh, because you become a person people don't like. In other words, you become like a small Israel. When they see you, they remember the dead. Nobody wants to see the dead. So the reason why Islam said, don't take this as your job, because of this reason. Number 2, Islam said, don't be a person who slaughter animals as a job, because he said, seeing a lot of blood makes your heart tougher. If that is your job, every day you see blood, if somebody get killed, somebody get injured, you don't have that mercy for them, because you normally see it every day. But if it's once in a while, at least you can have that. So the reason why I'm bringing this, because in Islam, even though selling dogs is haram, but if a dog is meant for hunting, train a dog for hunting, Islam says you are allowed to sell those dogs. That's how much hunting is in Islam. That if the dog is trained just for hunting, you are allowed to sell them or buy them. That is fine. So in Islam, yes, we are allowed to hunt, and there is a lot of rules about how to hunt, how they become halal. So hunting in Islam is absolutely allowed, and it's fine. No any restriction about that.
Thank you.
Ajay,
Yes.
hunting for the sake of pleasure or as a sport, I think that's something which
Yes.
is problematic.
Yes. Sometimes brothers asking hunting for the sake of hunting or fun or because you need it. Hunting for the sake of hunting is not permitted in Islam. Meaning, I'm not allowed to go and start shooting animals just because the way they die looks funny. Or it's like fun. When I see how the guns makes a noise, it makes me feel good. No, that is not allowed in Islam. Killing those kind of life is haram. Unless if you hunt animal because you needed the skin for something. You needed the meat for something. Or you needed the animal for something. That's allowed in Islam. But hunting for the sake of hunting, we are not allowed to do that. Yes.
So like if you have like two people and like without like an imam to lead the Jamaat, and you have a person that is like knowledgeable about Salat and a person who has like good recitation, who should we like make as an imam to read the prayer?
Good. MashaAllah. Brother is asking, it's a very good question of one of the rules about Salat al-Jama'ah. And that is, you have two people. One of them, they both qualify, but they both have one quality that another person doesn't have. One of them, he is knowledgeable about ahkam of Salat and the rest, but he's lacking a good voice. The other person, he has a very good voice, but he doesn't know much about the Islamic rule and Salat. So who should lead in this situation? The answer is the one who knows the rules more. He has the right to lead the prayer. Because in case something happened, he knows how to fix it. But if this one has a good voice, but he doesn't know how to lead the prayer, if you follow him, it's going to be a disaster. So yes. Yes.
You told us about the person who's born Muslim and then leave Islam for something. So what if, like, you told us the responsibilities come on the state or mujtahid or imam or also. But what if someone is living here and then born Muslim and left Islam for, maybe for other person or for something else? Then
Right.
stuff.
Here, see the Islam, the sister's question is that if somebody, we're talking about murtad, somebody who leaves Islam for another religion. He or she was born here, and then they decided to leave, they were born Muslims, and then they decided to leave Islam for another religion. If the person happened to be here, then there is nothing we can do other than to do amal bil ma'ruf. Encourage the person to come back. If the person has any question unanswered, we try to answer those questions. If the person have any problem that he needs help, our job is to make it easier for the person to see the light and come back. That is all we can do. We cannot force them. We cannot take any action against that person. Yes, brother.
If you have a group of people in a room that's completely locked, and there's one person that is trying to kill you, and you know that they're going to be able to kill all of you at once, are you allowed to kill that person?
Yeah, the brother is asking if you are in a place, a room that is locked, and there is a person who came to kill all of you. But you, maybe mashallah, you're stronger enough that you can fight him and kill him. Are you allowed to do that? In Islam, if there is evidence that the person has the intention of killing you, you are allowed to defend yourself in a way that if you can prevent killing, that is the first way to take it. You defend yourself without killing the person. Now, if the only way that I have is to kill the person to save myself, then you're allowed to do that at that point. In self-defense, you're allowed to. But you have to make sure that the person wants to kill. If the person wants, and in that self-defense the person died, you are considered okay in Islam. Yes.
You mentioned the kafara for someone leaving the religion of Islam was death. Can you give reasoning why is that harsh?
That's a good question. Number one, Islam mentioned this as one of the reasons. Number one, as we mentioned, that Islam considered that as a death sentence. It's not like when somebody says, I'm not a Muslim, that's it. We have to sentence the person. No. There's what we call بِشَرْطِهَا وَشُرُوطِهَا. They have to go through all the details. One of the details, Islam or the state or the Islamic country have to look, why is he saying that he's not a Muslim? Is he a mental problem? If that is the case is over. They don't kill the person. Or the person have an unanswered questions. Like something is wrong, that they can come to a conclusion that Allah is one. Then we have to help the person to prove to him that there is God. Number three, if the person, for example, he was forced by somebody forced him that if you don't change, you'll be killed, threaten them, and they change because of that, we try to eliminate that threat. Whatever the reason might, Islamic State have to set like a committee to verify what is the reason. Now, if there is no reason, Islam have the right, according to the Sharia, with the permission of Ma'soom or with the permission of Marja in the Islamic State, to see what the punishment of that person deserves, which our scholars, they say the punishment of that person is death sentence. And the reason, one of the wisdom, not the reason, the wisdom is Islam is like any other religion. When you make a contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are not allowed to back off that on that contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only that, now Islam was asking a question. If I want to leave Christian Islam and to become Christian, for example, Islam said there is no reason to do that because you're already a Christian to begin with. Because in Islam, you can't be a Muslim unless you believe in Isa alayhi salam. If you say, I want to go and become a Jew, Islam said, no, you already won. You are Christian, you're a Jew, and plus Muslim. So all this you already are. So what is the reason that you, a person, will leave something that you are to claim something that you already did? That is one. Or if the person says, no, I don't want to become a Muslim, I want to become whatever, something else. Islam said, maybe something wrong with your mind. Because who in the world will have biryani and the chicken and then say, I'm going to leave it and go and get a trash? You have Islam with your religion, everything nice, comfortable, best Lord, best prophet, best book. And then he said, no, I don't want this. I want something that is something like trash. That is where Islam comes in, yes.
But what if someone's alcoholic? They convert, and then after about a year, they have these withdrawal symptoms and they say they cannot go on. So in that case, is that a valid reason? They might say, if I do not consume alcohol, I might lose my mind. So is that a good reason for them to leave Islam?
No, it's not a good reason. Because you can drink alcohol as long as you're Muslim. You are a Muslim who is committing sin.
So that's better?
Is that?
Is that better?
That is much better. Because at least what it is, the person still keeps the oath. It's just breaking the law here and there, but the oath is still there. Or like anybody else. Now, we all Muslims. Sometimes either I backbite or I lie. We are still Muslim, but we're breaking some rules one way or another. But to say that I'm leaving Islam completely without any logic, that is where Islam has a problem. It's like, let me give you an example. If you want to go and rent any apartment that you want to rent, you have the right to go back to Herondon, you want to go to Manassas, you can go anywhere to rent an apartment, don't you? Now, but when you make your decision, say, I want this apartment, you go in there, you find the paper, you sign the lease, they give you the key. Can you say, no, I don't want anymore? Or you sign the lease for 1 year, you have to stay there for 1 year. You don't want to live there, that's fine, but you have to pay the rent anyway. So you have to pay the price. So, because the contracts are meant to be kept. But before you come in, Islam says you're welcome. If you don't want to come in, that's fine. But if you come and you sign the contract by saying the Shahadatain, Islam says that's it. You can't get out.
Yes. Going back to the kafan question, I know you said that selling kafan is makruh, but if you were to ask bringing kafan from Karbala, is it allowed then?
Absolutely, that's much better.
But it's not selling, right?
No, it's not selling. Buying, like to have a kafan for yourself in Islam, even actually is highly recommended for every person to purchase their own kafan from pure halal income that they know, for that this money is bought a kafan with from my pure halal income. Instead of dying and somebody donating their kafan, that kafan might not be bought from the halal income, and that is not something that Islam encourages us to do. So every person is highly recommended to have your own kafan. For that matter, asking somebody to buy from any other country to bring it so you can have it or give to masjid or donate, that is not considered selling. That is highly recommended. What we're talking about makruh is if that becomes my job. I go to Iraq, I buy millions of kafan, I can't say, okay, who wants kafan? I'm selling $25. That is my job. That's what I live on. That is what the makruh is. Yes, please.
Good.
Yes, please.
If you're born Muslim, but before you're baligh, you convert, is that allowed?
No, that's not allowed either. Because they say what Islam is saying is that when your dad became Muslim, he signed a contract for you too. Too bad you were not there, but he already signed for you. The same thing like if your dad goes and rent an apartment. Before you were born, you can't say, oh, this is my house. Did you sign the contract? No. Why do you call it your house? Because your dad did, right? And you think you made the right choice. So that's why you call it your house too. So the same thing before you were born, if your dad converted to Islam, he signed it for you too. So you can't either. Yes.
Question about blasphemy. So, if a non-Muslim says something against Allah or Prophet or anyone, what are the rulings on that, and how much should we tolerate versus when do we do
Yeah. When a person says something against the Prophet or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the things that we have to do is to declare that that is not that's not the truth. That is number one. And number two, we have to declare that we are not on the same page with that person. We have to declare that. If I can't come out and say it out loud, at least in my heart, I have to denounce that. That this person or that person or this group, what they said about the Prophet or Imam, Ya Allah, I want to declare that I'm denouncing this act. I don't agree with that. You have to. Even if you don't say it with your mouth, in your heart, you have to have that intention. So that is what we have to do at that point. We have to denounce it either out loud or we have to denounce it in our heart.
Beyond that, we don't have, today we get fatwas to, like, a Christian says something and needs to be killed or something. That's not in Africa.
See, killing, it cannot be done unless if you have two green lights. Number one, Ma'soom have to tell the person to kill. Because brothers and sisters, in Islam, there is two rules. Rule number one, in fact, they say everything is considered halal until it's proven to you as haram. Except three things. Three things is opposite. Meaning, like those three things, first they are considered haram for you until the other way around. Number one of those three things is blood, life. If I see somebody, can I kill this person? Is it halal for me to kill? Islam says no, it's haram. Until you have the proof that you are allowed to kill the person. How? Number one, by Ma'soom. Ma'soom have to tell you that this person is okay to kill. That is number one. Or the Na'ib of Ma'soom, which is the Marja, a Mujtahid. If the Mujtahid comes and says, this person is to be killed, then here you are allowed to do that. If you are the Muqallid of that Marja. That is the two. Other than that, we are not allowed to just say because he said this, we have to kill them. No. Denouncing the act, yes, we can. We have to denounce the act. But to go further on killing, we have to have the permission from the Ma'soom or from the Mujtahid at that time. Yes, sister.
If you're like a cashier at a store, are you allowed to check out like pork or alcohol? Because you're not really selling it, you're just checking it out.
Yeah. The question is that if you are a cashier in a store or a place where alcohol or pork is sold, is sold in those places. And you're a cashier, you have to do it. Here they say if you have a choice of having somebody to sell those things and scan those things, then that is the best thing to do. Because one of the longest hadiths that we have is about alcohol. That when you go, the Prophet says, La'anallahu sani'uha. A person who makes the alcohol, Allah cursed him. وَلَعَنَ sharibaha hamila. The one who drinks it is cursed. The one who sells it is cursed. The one who carries it is cursed. Every stage of alcohol is cursed. Unless if it becomes that the person have no choice. I don't have any choice. I can't take, there is nothing I can do. Then that is different situation. That is different situation. But if you can find somebody to check them out, then let them do that. Yes.
Why don't you?
Trying to kill you, are you supposed to kill it?
If what? If an animal wants to kill you?
Can you kill it?
Are you supposed to kill it?
If it's going to kill you and you have to defend yourself, yes. Okay.
I have two questions. One
Yes.
you may answer today, the other you may, decide to give a whole lecture on it. The first is you said that mujtahid means the one who struggles.
Yes.
We also are familiar with another term, mujahid. So what is the difference between the two? That is question number one.
Yes.
And the other is, would you like to answer that or should I?
No, please go
Okay.
ahead.
The second question is about Amar bil Maruf or Nahin Anilmunkar. The two terms, Maruf and Munkar, it seems they are not very well understood. So, would you please give us a lecture on, what are Munkarat and what are Marufat in the eyes of Quran, Rasul, and Imam Hussain quite famously said that he is going out for doing this Amar bil Maruf and Nahi Munkar. So people were not praying at that time. That's what he wanted to do. So what was Maruf or what was Munkar in his time that he wanted to go after? The other thing is regarding Amar bil Maruf and Nahi Munkar is this concept of ihtimal asar. Some people just don't do anything and they say, we know that the other person wouldn't listen. And they invoke this ihtimal asar notion. So, ihtimal asar. So, what is the role of this thing in?
Yes, this one I would think that if we can have a lecture on it, it's better than that. Because then there are conditions of Amr bil Maruf and Nahi Anilmunkar. When does it become wajib and so on and so forth. So, inshallah, we must specify a date for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the lecture. That's one of the list of the topics.
Inshallah.
Maruf, the definition of what's included in Maruf.
Okay, inshallah. But mujtahid and mujahid, the both words came from the word al-juhud, meaning struggle. But in Arabic there is a rule called anytime a letter is added from the root of the word, it changes the meaning. If the one letter is added, it changes the meaning. For example, you have the word Rahman, you have the word Rahim. Rahman and Rahim, they both came from the word Rahma. Rahma, which is mercy, but Rahman has different meaning, that Rahim also has different meaning because of the additions in them. The word mujtahid and mujahid also similar. They all came from the word juhud. But because of the addition in each one of them, makes them to have different meaning. When we say al-mujtahid, as we mentioned earlier, is the person who struggles to come up with the Islamic ruling. Whether to say five of the Islamic ruling. Either to tell you it's wajib, or to tell you it's haram, or to tell you it's mustahab, or to tell you it's makruh, or tell you it's mubah. One of these five rulings, that is what's called ijtihad. To struggle to come up with the Islamic ruling. Now, al-mujahid is the person who is struggling. Where and how, it doesn't tell. But the term mujahid today is used for someone who is struggling for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's called mujahid. But the actual word mujahid in Arabic means a struggler. How does he struggle? What is he struggle? Good or bad? It can all be used for us word mujahid. But today the word mujahid in the Islamic term is used for somebody who is struggling for the cause of Allah, whether it's in the fight or in other good things. It's called mujahid. Yes, brother.
is it the Dajjal an alien, or like is it a human that like was born in a different way? Like does it have a specific race?
Who?
The Dajjal.
Dajjal?
Dajjal.
Dajjal, there is two different terms in the hadith that we have. Some people call Dajjal as a human being who will be born before the end of the world, who will come and misguide people. And Prophet Isa alayhi salam will come and confront him, and so on and so forth. So in one hadith that we have, it's like a human being, one human who will come and lead people to the wrong path. But then there is another hadith also that indicate that Dajjal is not a human, it's a system. Meaning a group of people who adopted an ideology or a system of misguiding people, and they have their way of trying to spread the evil through that system. So they call him Dajjal too.
The last question, inshallah.
Yes.
I want go ahead.
My question was just more like a just observation.
Right.
In Shias, in our Madhab, there seems to be so much connectedness with our deceased, right? We do Isal Salah, Majlis, and we do so much. It seems that they're almost part of us, even though they have passed on.
Yes.
What happened with brothers in Al Sunnah? They're so, it's not like that at all, right? So what stemmed from that? What hadith or what riwayat that has permeated in Shiaism that has not happened in Sunni, and why not?
The question is, the brother's asking a question that when you come to the Ahlul Bayt school of thought, there is like a strong connection between people who are still living and they're deceased. They do Isal al-Thawab, reading Quran for them, Fatiha for them, Majlis for them, and so on and so forth. Versus our brothers, sometimes you don't see this is happening that much. The difference is the ahadith that the both school of thought has. For the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, some of them, not all of them, some of them, they have some ahadith that was quoted from the Prophet, stated that the Prophet said, when a person dies, that's it. إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمْ إِنْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ. It's finished. Nothing you can do to help him or her, or nothing they can do to help you alive, the living one. And that's why you see, when you go to the Masjid al-Nabawi, you want to connect with the Prophet, they say it's bid'ah. You go to Baqi, you want to make dua, they say you can't do that. Because they believe that after somebody dies, they have nothing to do with anybody. You can't help them, they can't help you either. That is the concept in that school of thought. But when you come to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, it's different. They say no, when somebody dies, that's not the end of it. There is still the connection between the living people and the dead people. There is that connection. And death doesn't mean that the person has completely isolated from you. He can't hear you, they can't talk to you. No, we believe that they can hear. And there are so many ayahs in the Quran to back this up. One of them in Surah Al Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Allah said, don't think those who got killed in the path of Allah as deceased. Allah said, they living. They hear, they talk. And we have so many hadiths. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he used to go to, Wadi Salam, and he speaks to the deceased. And he asked him, the hadith is there, that Imam Ali used to talk to the deceased. And he said, what do you want? If you want me to tell you about this world, he said, your houses has been lived by other people. Your clothes has been worn by others. Your money has been distributed. And he goes through the details. And he said, that is the story we have here. What is the story over there? Tell me. And then he talked to Imam Ali. Imam Ali then comes and said that they said, Wallahi la naghbitu illa ahl dunya. He said, we don't envy anybody but the people who are still living. He said, what do you envy them about? They said, yusallun wala nusalli. They get to continue to do the prayers, but we don't do it. We can't do it. They fast and we can't. They go to Hajj and we can't. So that tells you there is communication between the two. And there are so many hadiths also. in that the Prophet ﷺ, when he was passing by, one time, one of the sunnah of the Prophet, any place he goes, the first place he visits is the graveyard. And then when he gets there, what does he say? Assalamu alaikum ya ahl diyar. Now listen, Assalamu alaikum in Islam is mustahab, but responding is what? It's wajib. Now if the Prophet said Assalamu alaikum and they dead, why the Prophet is saying Assalamu alaikum to them? Either the Prophet doesn't understand and he says Assalamu alaikum to the deceased who cannot respond, or the Prophet understands. And not only that, we as a Muslim, every single day in namaz we say Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We say salam to him, and the Prophet responds to our salam. So our belief is that a person, when they die, they still living. And the most important part is, when somebody died, is the most time they needed their living one. A dead person, they need us more than ever before. And the most of what they need is to keep sending them the thawab. By doing everything that you can. You can pray 2 rak'ah for them and they get the reward. You read Quran and say, Ya Allah, send the reward for them, they get the thawab. You give the sadaqah, they get the reward. You buy a Quran, you put it in the masjid. Anytime somebody reads, they get the thawab. These are all isal thawab from the Prophet, that the Prophet encourages us to do. Because there's one hadith which also is mentioned in the Sunni school of thought as well, where the Prophet said, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنَ آدَمْ إِنْقَطَعَ عَمَلُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. There are 3 things that can still get the thawab to the deceased. Number 1, it says sadaqatun jariyah. If the person or somebody in the family did sadaqah, the continuous charity, that every time is continuously giving the blessings of that charity, the person get the reward. And like I said, this charity, it doesn't have to be millions of dollars. One of the sadaqah jariyah, brothers and sisters, you buy sleepers, you put in the masjid. Anytime somebody uses them, they say sadaqah jariyah to your marhum. And how much does it cost? $1, $2? Sadaqah jariyah. You buy dua kumail, tasbih, you put it in the masjid in the name of your marhum. Anytime somebody takes the misbah, subhanallah, subhanallah, they get the reward and then he gets the reward too. That is how much thawab is so easy in Islam. So Islam said that those people, they need your prayers the most. So that is why the Prophet encourages us to keep that connect with them, so we can give them the blessing. Some narrations say even like a Friday night or Thursday night, they come, they ask. Marhum, the deceased, they get released every Thursday night. They come to their families' houses. They're asking them for dua, they're asking them the sadaqah to do a lot for them. Because that is the only way they can get the thawab after that.
Malana, can we recite Surah Fatiha for the living? Like if I want to do it for myself, can I do it?
Absolutely you can. Why not? And I think yesterday I mentioned that, yes, it's like you have 401k, right? 401k, what do? You save money until you retire. When you retire, you start taking it. You can create 401k of Fatiha. You can save millions of Fatiha in there until the day you die, then you start taking them back after you retire. So yes, one can do that.
And thank you that you made us all shaheed. That was very good.
Alhamdulillah.
Last question.
I think the husbands will have to verify this.
No, you don't take a chance. Sorry.
For when we have to denounce, 2 related questions. One is it the act that we denounce or the person? Secondly, the kind of language we should use or we should not use when we're denouncing.
Yes, number 1, when we in Islam, we don't hate people or dislike people. Every human being is liked and we should like every human being. But what we dislike is the actions. See, shaitan, the reason why we call him shaitan and we do la'an, not because he created shaitan, no, because of his action. If today some shaitan becomes nicer and in turn he does tawbah, Allah accepted him, are you going to say la'natullah alayhim again? No. It's the same person. Yesterday we said la'an and today we're saying something else, right? So the actual thing is the action and not the person. And an example, Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, when he was in the group of the Yazid, if he is to die, what do you think we're going to say? Al-La'natu, right? But when he changed and he came, it's the same person. Yesterday he was there, and today he's here. But today what do we say? Assalamu alayka ya hur. Right? It's the same person. So the aim is that when somebody does something wrong, we don't care about that personality. We care about the action. The action is what we denounce, not the person. That is that. And number two, when a person does something wrong and we are to denounce it, we have to choose the best word to denounce it. The language is very important. We can't use bad language. We can't use the foul language just because they did something wrong. We have to use the best language, but at the same time denouncing the act.
Really last question now, right?
Last question.
Really last.
Now this is the same question on tolerance related to that.
Yes.
Now, what was the rationale that Ayatollah Khomeini passed the fatwa on Salman Rushdie then when he wrote that book? So what was the rationale? Why wasn't just denunciation of that? Why was it like taking his life?
Yeah. Number one, I believe, see, Imam al-Khomeini rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi is a marja, and all the maraja that we have, may Allah be pleased with those who pass away and protect those who are still living. Every marja, before they come and give a fatwa, say it's wajib or haram or makruh, they always have to have a backup from the Quran. That is something we have to keep in mind. They never come out to say something just because they want to say it. Now, for the first about Imam al-Khomeini rahmatullah alayh, when he said this, he has to have the proof from the Quran. That is number one. Number two, one of the reasons they said when he made this statement is because Salman al-Rushdie happened to be a Muslim by birth. And remember we said that when somebody leaves Islam after they were born, their punishment is death. Now, this Salman al-Rushdie, you look at the name, Salman Rushdie, he was born and raised a Muslim. And not only he came out of Islam, then he made a very, very bad mouthing Islam and the Prophet and the Quran. For example, he called Quran the verses of Satan. And then some bad language about the Prophet. So with all this together, being a Muslim, Imam al-Khomeini, for another reason that he knows and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he made that statement that he should be killed. But the most one is because he was born and raised a Muslim and he becomes murtad al-fitri at that point.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.